Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hey, it's the touchdown crew. It's me, the coach. I got my boy Mike to my right. What's up, Mike?
What's going on, Coach? How's your week going?
Man, it's going good, man. Going good. Other than that, man, it's Sunday. It is Sunday. Hey, so what we're gonna do? We're gonna start it off. We're gonna do something a little bit different. We're gonna talk about more so of the tangibles of teams, owners, and quarterbacks. So, Mike, here's my question. I know we kind of talked about it a little bit before we started,
Mhm.
before we went off on last Sunday. The quarterback position.
Right,
What's your take on it now that you see a lot of more mobile, a lot of more athletic quarterbacks?
right.
Do you think they could take it to a Super Bowl?
I think I wouldn't say it's changed in any way, shape, or form about the mobile quarterback idea. I see it being the same as it was back then, whereas the presence of what you're looking at. Now, you're looking at the same mold of a Michael Vick, of a Lamar Jackson, of a Justin Fields, so on and so forth about what you expect. And the Justin Fields one, I hear you. You know, it's just the idea of Justin Fields, not of what he is compared to Vic and Lamar. But I think the game plan is the only thing that's really changed. Now, before it was really just let them run, let them run, let them run, ground pound, and if you have to, then let them throw. But now you see, after a couple years being instilled into an offense, we're starting to see Lamar Jackson throw over 400 yards. We're starting to see other individuals like Justin Herbert really showing that they're dual threat type quarterbacks. Even Trey Lance. Trey Lance, when he first came into college, he's just a mobile quarterback. Then he goes into I always forget I think it was North Dakota. He comes into North Dakota and he completely balls out and he's throwing so many touchdowns. It's definitely something where I feel like the game is evolving and it's more of a trusting on that quarterback. They're trying to make them become more of a dual threat, and that's something you can't teach. Just your normal pocket passer. You can't teach Nick Foles to be a mobile quarterback. He's always going to be that one-dimensional guy because they don't have that athleticism that ties into being a mobile quarterback. Now, a mobile quarterback becoming a dual threat is a lot easier because you can teach a guy to be patient in the pocket if he's willing to learn. That's just point blank, period. But obviously the accuracy comes with it. Your favorite player in this league, Josh Allen, still has a problem with that. But yeah, favorite player in the league. But Josh's problem is he's not just a mobile quarterback. He could be dual threat. Like he has the arm strength to be that guy. He's just not accurate. He doesn't have good decision making. And it's really unfortunate that we haven't been seeing that from him because I do believe if Josh Allen were to fix what he's got going on, they probably are a Super Bowl contender. If he would have continued to develop and make strides in the right way. But that's very unfortunate. But it is, there's definite time with that. But coach, for you, I kind of want to piggyback off what you asked me and ask you, do you truly think that anybody could win a Super Bowl? Because we've seen them go. We've seen Cam Newton go with it. Do you think they could win it though?
But here's what I believe, and I thought about this a lot.
Mm,
I think when we had conversations about quarterbacks, I call them they're like superheroes.
right.
Like they do stuff because they're the most. To me, honest truth, if you got a quarterback, man, quarterback have you set for years. It can hide your weaknesses. And when I say superheroes, you could take Tom Brady. When Tom Brady came out, or even when he was playing, you never heard anything about his arm.
Mm,
You never heard anything about his athletic ability. But if you watch him through college to now, his super ability was determined. Like he was
right.
determined. Like he was like, hey, I'm a hard worker. I don't care. Because even at Michigan, he didn't start. He split time, but
Right.
he didn't have an attitude. He was focused on what he was doing. And then that's one of the things you could see when he was with New England. Like coming in, he was the fourth string quarterback. He worked his way up to a starting quarterback to now a Super Bowl quarterback. You take Lamar Jackson.
Right.
Lamar Jackson it's his legs, it's his throwing. I mean, he can run. His
Right.
athletic ability, that's his superpower. That's the one thing that he has. And guess what? That's what he's been doing since eighth grade.
Mm-hmm.
He's been doing that through junior high. So the thing, and I can go on and on and say Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes, I could throw at every different angle 40, 50 yards downfield.
Right.
And I think one of the things that each person has a superpower. Guess what you have? You got your kryptonite. Go back to Brady. He can't run. He
Right.
can't move. You go back to Lamar. He can't read. And if you watch him, even it's two things. Even when I watch Lamar, either he can't read the second defense, and that cuts out some of your passes that you can do. If
Right.
you look at him, he's late on throws because he's just running around, and his mechanics is bad
Yeah.
because he's always had the one ability. He had the one up on everybody that he can run.
Yeah.
And I think we go back to Cam Newton, and I want to say that the year he went to the Super Bowl was his best passing year.
I think so. I would. Yeah.
That was his best
I would bet
passing year.
on it. I would bet on it.
So I mean, you can go back in the past. You can look at Steve Young. Steve Young, when he was with the Bucks, he ran all
Right.
the time. For honest, he ran all the time. But when he started winning, it was the ability to pass. And I think that's one of the issues that a lot of the quarterbacks, you have to throw the football in the
Right.
NFL.
And
Because when you go ahead, Mike, what'd you say?
I think you made a good point, though. I just wanted to piggyback off it. With Cam, a lot of people think, and I don't know if it's just me, but I hear a lot of people talking about, oh, he's one of the best mobile quarterbacks to do it. When you really look at it, Cam throughout his entire career has a total of like 500 rushing yards. Like he's not one of those Kyler or Lamar type guys who's going to take it to the house every single week. What Cam was a red zone target in the red zone, obviously to run the ball. He has over 70 rushing touchdowns. That's fine, but people don't realize in that Super Bowl season he was passing more than he was running, and that was a good point. I just wanted to bring up. Like he only rushed for like 70 or 100 something yards.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like you have to work on your weakness. You have to be able to throw. And that was one thing. Like even with Josh Allen, that was my knock. He didn't.
Right.
He to me, he never had that one drive or that one game where he was like, oh, he has arrived.
Right.
Like and you take Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's fast and quick. His kryptonite, hell, if he gets hit, he's because he's only 150 some pounds. I mean, and that's the thing, and I think that's the thing with quarterbacks. When you get to that level of where we're talking about top 10, top 5, it's like
Right.
what can you do? Because here's a perfect example. What is Baker Mayfield great at?
I don't even know, bro. I don't even know, coach.
And that's the average. That's the average guy. That's why
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you.
and that's the thing. Like when you talk, that's why I say when we talk about superstars, you talk about good quarterbacks, you talk about average quarterbacks. It's like, what do you bring to the table to make the team better?
Right.
Like, you know for a fact Pat Mahomes is going to keep you in the game.
Right.
You know for a fact with Tom Brady, he's going to win you 4 or 5 games, or he's going to have a close game. And that's the question when you talk about quarterbacks, and when we say, and it's even you can go back to New England. What's the quarterback now? I forgot his name.
Mac Jones.
Mac Jones. He's a manager.
Yeah.
He's
You
a man.
you ever seen him shirtless? You ever seen that picture out of Alabama? How he looks?
No, I never.
Oh, I'll send it to you. But kid's big. Kid's a big kid. You would not think.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. But he's a manager. Well,
Right.
because what was he at Alabama? He was a manager.
He was the 5th best guy on that offense.
But because it goes back to this, and this is one of the craziest questions. If you got to realize when Tua was there, he didn't start.
Right.
He wasn't good enough.
Right.
If Bryce Young would have came in at the same time as Mac Jones, he wasn't gonna start over Bryce Young.
No.
He came at the right time. He managed the team because guess what? When you had all that firepower on the outside, within doubt, you know what? I can always drop it off to my running back, or I can just hand it to him.
Right.
And that's the thing. That's his greatness. I'm gonna manage it and do what I can. I'm not gonna do anything more out of what I do. And I think that's where people have to realize when you look at quarterbacks, you can't be one-dimensional. I'm gonna run the ball.
Right.
Because if you are like that, all you do is run the ball, then guess what happens? When you get in the playoffs, you have to throw it.
Right. But we even do have that conversation though. Like a lot of people say, "Oh, Patrick Mahomes isn't a mobile guy first." But when you really look back at who Patrick Mahomes was coming into college, I mean, this kid's a baseball player, this kid's a football player. Right? Patrick Mahomes was known as being just an overall athletic guy. Couldn't really read defenses. He even said that himself. He couldn't read a defense fully until probably year 2, year 3 after the MVP season, which is fucking insane. But it's definitely something though where even the greatest of guys right now, like Kyler's, Patrick Mahomes, like they all played baseball. They're all two-dimensional guys in their field. They're just that athletic. Now, do you think we're gonna start to see more of that in college? Do you think they're gonna allow these guys to play more than one sport like we have with Kyler Murray and we have with others, or do you think that's something they don't want happening?
Um, I don't know because one thing, and that's one thing about Patrick Mahomes. If you look at Patrick Mahomes, he
Because he could have went to the league. He could have went to the league if he wanted to. Both him and Kyler.
But I say this one thing about Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes been doing what he was doing since 8th grade.
Right.
I watched him in his high school career, like running around like he's running around and chunking it deep. I think one thing that he has to do, and I mean what he's done, everybody realized he likes to throw deep.
Right.
And his weakness is checking down, taking what it is. Because
what the?
He just pops right into the screen. Anyway, I think that one thing about Patrick Mahomes, and you can see where he gets his interception. He don't have any touch on the short to mid range.
Right.
All the balls hitting off receivers' hands. It's either the receivers can't catch it or the ball's coming too hot. So I think that was his adjustment. That was the one thing that he needed to do. That's the one thing that he needed to work on. And you can see now, like if you saw from the beginning of this year to now, he's making the check. He's checking it down. He's throwing it to the tight end. He's dropping it to the running back, or is this? I agree. Of course, here's the thing. You want an athletic quarterback.
Right.
You want an athletic. You want someone that can move around. You want somebody that can run. The whole Ben Roethlisberger who just stayed stationary, that's dead. Even Tom Brady, to the extent, they're gonna live, or Joe Burrow, they're gonna live off what they do to a certain extent. So you start heating them up. But that's why you put guys around them. But like I said, this is me, Bryce Young, and we're talking college. I think that he is a good quarterback. I think that he's the next first round draft pick because of what they got now, how he moves around.
I would say so.
He takes a beating, but he's the only thing he needs to work on is his deep ball. His deep ball is not his actually deep. So
right.
Because he can't he can't hit it on the run, but you can work on that. But
oh yeah, for sure.
I think, but that's the thing that what you got to realize, everybody miss and reach for quarterbacks because it's the most important thing on your team.
Right.
I mean, and that's just even, and I'm gonna ask you this: Justin Fields, what's his strength?
Justin, I mean, honestly, I'll give him 2 passes, and it's just being completely real. I give him a Tom Brady type of comparison to the conversation of this kid wants to learn, this kid's willing to be determined, this kid gives it his everything. He understands that reading defenses and being a part of that is something that's going to come over time. So I definitely give his mental aspect as one of his biggest strengths, but his second one is obviously his legs and his arm. I mean, the kid can sling it. The kid can sling it. He just needs to be a little bit more accurate and give a little bit more decisions.
Yeah. And I think even with Justin Fields, and when people say that, I probably said a lot of time is reading defenses. When you have someone at Justin Fields' caliber, he was at Ohio State. You had a top 10 in the country O-line. You had top 10 2 running backs back there in the backfield. You had a fleet of receivers, and you played against, not only until you got into the bowl games, it was a cakewalk to a certain degree. Right. So I think that's the one thing is he didn't get to see a lot of different, because you couldn't scheme.
Right. Like my thing is though, really, and while we're talking about Bears quarterbacks, I think it's a perfect comparison. I think it's perfectly fine to take an athletic quarterback, number 1 overall. but don't take an athlete trying to play quarterback. Now, where you take Mitchell Trubisky, number 2 overall, is you're banking on an athletic guy and hoping you can make him into a quarterback. And I think that's why we've seen it fail in the past, is the fact that these guys aren't quarterbacks. Like Patrick Mahomes is a quarterback. Kyler Murray is a quarterback. Justin Fields can play the quarterback position very well. Now, Mitchell Trubisky, he's just an athlete playing QB1. And that's really how I viewed it. And there's a lot of other comparisons. We can go down the list of guys who are very similar to that. But it's definitely something to where I think that's where the narrative's changing. They're finding guys who actually fit that quarterback position, who can be molded into something more and not have to rely just on that athleticism. Because Mitchell Trubisky, he'll be average for you. You know what I mean? Like, he can win you some games, but you're going to have a top 5 defense. You're going to have weapons surrounded all around him, and you're going to have to trust that your head coach can congregate something around that. Now, with Matt Nagy, it was more of, no, we're going to keep trying to force this. And it's where I do give Nagy a pass on that. We're going to keep trying to force this kid and turn him into something he's not. And where I understand where Matt's coming from, it was also a point of, you need to look at your front office and say, we took a guy who isn't willing to develop, who can't develop, and it's just not going to happen. So I don't know why we even did this to begin with. Now, you look at it from that perspective, even Deshaun Watson, when people look at him, he's a dual threat guy. Like, this guy can run, this guy can do whatever you want. Everything he has going on in his life right now, it's irrelevant to the conversation, but this guy is not afraid of the moment. He's not afraid of the spotlight, and taking just guys that are athletic and throwing them at the quarterback position. Coach, just as well as I do, when you have training camps and you're doing, you have a couple guys. I was always that guy, Coach. I played strong safety, free safety my whole life. Hey, but every preseason, Coach, when the coach would be up there, the offensive coach, you say, all right, who wants to play quarterback? Oh, me. I want to do it. I want to be in drills. I just want to be in drills today. I just want to see what it's like. I'm left-handed. I'm messing around. But it's serious. Like, okay, Mike's athletic. Maybe once ever throughout his high school career, we'll let him do some wildcat offense type shit. One time it ever happened, and I ran in. That was it. But I never threw the ball once. But you can't have just an athletic guy playing the quarterback position. It needs to be an actual quarterback who's actually just happens to be athletic. And that's where I think the narrative's starting to change, is guys are just actual quarterbacks this time around.
So let me ask you this. Where do you put Lamar?
Lamar's an interesting situation, and it goes back down to the Matt Nagy thing. See, with John Harbaugh, it's John, right? It's not Jim. It's John. Yeah, it's John. But it's a situation where John did it the right way. With Matt, it was with Trubisky and Matt, and mind you, Lamar is light years ahead of Mitchell Trubisky. I'm not trying to compare that, but I'm comparing the situation to where we understood, okay, Lamar went 30th or 31st overall, whatever it was, maybe 32. We're going to build this offense around his strengths, and then we're going to slowly recruit him into being a passing quarterback first. With Mitchell Trubisky, it wasn't even Nagy, really. It was John Fox, and he threw him to the Wolves in his rookie year, and it was bad. And your best option was Jordan Howard as a running back. Like, that's how down bad we were. Cameron Meredith and a couple other horrible picks. So yeah, it's definitely, I think it's a very different situation. So Lamar, I think, has developed into a very good passing quarterback. I just don't think it's consistent enough yet. I think that's going to come within time. Lamar Jackson's still 24, 25 years of age. He's still relatively young. That definitely can come with time. And we've seen him at times throw very accurate balls. We've seen him throw over 400 yards and rush over 70. Like, this guy can be that individual. But with a Mitchell Trubisky type situation, you can try to force it as much as you want, and it's just not going to happen. Now with Lamar, I've seen intangibles of it. I've seen moments, and you talk about it all the time, key moments. Pride and I were making fun of you the other day. We had a segment called Moments, and we were just talking about guys' moments. It was all love, Coach. It was all love, but we were doing it. We were having a good time with it. We were trying to think of different guys' moments throughout the league.
But it's not when I say when people say, when you say moments.
No, yeah, we were definitely just overgoing on it, but
yeah, it's not that it's a moment. It's like, okay, he arrived as a quarterback,
right? Yeah,
like
definitely.
You say,
like that game,
say Joe Barrow.
Okay, he did that.
He did it, and then guess what? Now he took it and he built with it, and that's the thing. Like, when I look at the Bills, because I know everybody crashed me when I said Josh Allen. I think above average quarterback, has a strong arm.
Right.
But there's times when you see a quarterback and you say, hey, he has arrived and he has took that next step. And that's the thing. And I agree with you with Lamar. If Lamar doesn't learn how to throw the ball, they will not win a championship. He'll take you to the playoffs. What he does, he can take you to the playoffs because his athletic ability. He's just that. I mean, he's just that freakish athlete. That's why I said, and that's why I put them in that category. He's a superhero. Like no guy's a superhero.
Yeah.
No guys are superheroes, man. And then you got guys like I said, Baker Mayfield. He's a superhero, but he's just an average Joe, man. He's just a guy with a mask on.
I think he's becoming more of a super villain over there, but
hey,
that's a whole different conversation.
But I think there's things about it, and we're gonna kind of slide over. Let me say, what's up? Was it Andre? I see you, man. Freddie. Ryan, what's up, Ryan?
He made an appearance this morning for 2 seconds.
Yeah, he had to fix something on Facebook, and I forgot to add that. Andre, we got you. We're gonna talk about the Packers and the Bears, but not right now. Not right now. So here's my question, because and it's kind of we went because we was talking about coaches,
right?
And I know I get everybody talks about me all the time, especially when I said I don't think Bill is the GOAT. I think he's a good coach. I think he's a great coach.
Right.
I think he was blessed to have somebody like Tom Brady, because when you have somebody like him, and let me say this: when you have a leader that follows your lead, takes pay cuts, and do all these things, I think that really helps everybody else fall in line.
Right. And I say this to you, Coach. I ain't against you in the Bills the GOAT conversation. I think it's definitely a conversation to be had. I'm just saying he's one of the greats. And that's where me and you differed, because you were like, oh no, he's good. And I was like, no, he's great. He's just not the greatest, in my opinion. That's where me and you different. I was just like, no, he's a great he's a great coach. Like, let's be real about it.
But the thing is, and we piggyback off that, talk about it.
Right.
He's a great game manager / defensive coordinator. He doesn't touch the offense. Like that's never. And I think that's where people. I think, and even if you look at the NFL, I think that's where a lot of people are going towards the defensive coordinators, defensive head coaches, because guess what? He's not going to try to fit his system,
right,
to fit the offense. It's more so I can fit and plug around and play with the defense, because we all know you play, like you said all the time, you play safety. Defense is about reacting.
Right.
Like you react off the offense. If the offense line up like this, if the offense line up in trips, guess what, guys? We're going to roll to this, or we're going to do this. If they got two back system, hey, we're going to run this, or we're going to send this. Like that's what defense does. They react. So
that shit was horrible.
But that's what you do.
Coach, if I saw two backs and I knew my ass was gonna have to get all the way up to the line, I was like, it's gonna be one of those days. You got this 250-pound, 6'5" back coming at me. I'm like, come on, bro. I know it. I know how it's going. But let me ask you this though. You could say the same thing about Sean Payton and the same thing about Sean McVay, though, to the point where they're just touching that offense. They're not touching that defense. So would you still put them in that same category as being good and not great?
I can't put. I'm not. McVay is. He's not in that conversation.
No, I know, but like the presence of like
as an offensive mind, I like Sean Payton and I like McVay. I think Sean Payton is. I think he's a good coach, but Bill is in the great category.
Right.
I would put Bill in the great category, but I don't put. Sean.
Hey, let's have a moment real quick. It's taking a lot. It's taking a lot.
I'll put Sean in the good. He's good, but I'm not necessarily on that great. Like, don't get me wrong, he had like 2 good years, but there's times where
he's bad.
Like there's things where it's like, ugh. And then McVay has to really. He got to get him over the hump for me to sit there and say that. But again, like I said, I think Bill's a good. I think he's a great coach. But I don't put them in the GOAT category. Because when you say GOAT, and this is GOAT is means it doesn't matter where you go, coach. You're gonna make them a contender.
Right. And you can't really speak on that because he never really went. I mean, he did, but he's been there for so long. You don't really know if Bill can hang in other places. You know what I mean? Like when in his tenure with the Browns, it was horrible. It was a horrible time with him and Saban.
But then that's what people don't realize. And this is my argument. If you go and you look at when Tom Brady came, the first year they went 5-11. Yeah. Then the following year they were losing until Brady came in at quarterback because Bledsoe got hurt. So I think that's where people remember. Even when Brady was hurt, he never won a playoff game. He missed the playoffs another year. Like last year, he missed the playoffs. He'd make the playoffs this year, but he never won a playoff game. So now I think a lot of people, and we both know. I mean, if you look at the game, if you look at sports, period, it's about your organization. 9 times out of 10, your organization, who you got as general manager, who you have as a coach, is going to take you to that contender process. Because right or wrong, you had the Patriots, you had back in, you had the Colts, you had Baltimore.
Back then, it was in like 2000s.
But even now, even now, we talk right now. I'm just saying over a consistent basis, it was always the Colts, it was the Patriots.
Right.
I'm taking AFC right now. Baltimore, Kansas City. Who am I missing? And maybe if you want, you said what?
I think you hit it.
I think those are the consistent teams.
Consistent, yeah.
And when you look at that, thank you, Tony. Tony's watching, and the Steelers.
Right.
You got to say the Steelers. Like those are the consistent teams that are gonna always make the playoffs. Because guess what? We can all bet money that they're gonna make the playoffs.
Right.
The four out of the 5 will make the playoffs.
Right.
And then if you go to the NFC, you had the Packers. Well, now you have what? You got the Packers. NFC East is such a toss-up.
I would say you have the Packers. The Saints are always in the conversation. They always have been in the conversation, but I can't say the Rams because you have to acknowledge it as the St. Louis days as well, where they were dog shit. Like you can't just say, because they're in LA now, it's a whole new franchise. Like it's not. You have to remember yeah, so I can't say the Rams just yet. You went to one Super Bowl and lost. Or it's cool you get all these names, but what do you do with it?
There you go. Tony's listening, baby. Look at that. Packers, Eagles, Saints, Seahawks. You can say the 49ers because they were.
Are we saying the Eagles? Are we saying the Eagles?
They went to the Super Bowl. Once, twice.
Once, and they won with Nick Foles, and that was it.
But you can say that they were at the competitive. You could always say even if you're talking the past, and I know we got a lot of Cowboys fans that watching, it was always the Eagles.
Right.
And that was the thing. And that's the thing that when I say it's the organizations and it's a consistent.
Right.
And the crazy thing about it is you could do that in every sport. You go to basketball, you can say the exact same teams over and over. Mm-hmm. And so now really good. So now and then it goes on to what I said that you don't look at. I say, hey, it's this regular season only matters to a certain extent. Tony is on it today. Look at that. He said out of the East, yes, and they've been to 2. Then he backed up. They lost their first to the Brady and Pats. Game.
You with me, Coach? You with me?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
So
I was like, where'd Coach go for a second?
My bad.
Nah, you're good.
So you see the consistency of organizations and drafting and having just great at what they do.
Right.
I think that's where when you hear me when you take the Packers now, losing games don't bother me from them. Or you can say even Tampa Bay because when you played as a player, when you looked at even the high school, junior high, whatever, you looked at games and you're like, oh, we're gonna beat them.
Every year.
I
Every year.
be sure. Okay, now this was gonna be tough. Oh,
Right.
this is a hard team. This is what we're gonna say. And I think that's where people have to realize, like when I say, it just happens.
Right.
Because when you have teams like the Packers, even if you go right now, you got Packers, Cardinals, Bucks. Those three teams. We're just gonna say those three.
Yeah, don't go after that. Don't go after
Just those three.
it's very controversial after 3.
Yes, but those three, they're like take Tampa. I gotta lose. I gotta get healthy. We just gotta get healthy. Like we're winning games. Let's just get healthy. Arizona's the same way. Guys, we just gotta get healthy. Green Bay is like, hey, we just need to just keep doing what we're doing. We're all right. I think that's where is if we lose a game, we're fine because guess what? We're still a top 4 seed, so we're gonna have a home game at the beginning. I think that's what people don't realize and don't understand.
Right. I think it's also the presence of the Chicago Bears were in that conversation. Like they really were, and until the 2000s, they were in that conversation of being a top franchise, every single year, no matter what it was, whether it was the Dick Butkus era, whether it was the Doug Plank era, the Mike Singletary era, no matter what it was, the Brian Urlacher era, even they had that number 1 defense and they could take you to the Super Bowl. They've done it several times. They've done it throughout their history. The problem with it is this is sad. It's so sad to me. And Coach, I've talked about it so many times. The idea of the Monsters of the Midway, the idea of a defensive first team changed. Now we saw that come in with Brady. We saw that, okay, well, this quarterback can individually take us there. And the Chicago Bears refused to change and refused to bring in a front office and refused to bring in offensive-minded individuals. You're stuck on Lovie Smith. You're stuck on John Fox. You're stuck on all these people. We've seen Green Bay adjust. Okay, we're going to build things around Aaron. We're going to bring everybody around Aaron. The Bucks, okay, we're going to bring in Tom, and Arians. Like, we're going to bring in offensive-minded people who can do this. We're going to bring in Sean Payton's. We're going to bring in Sean McVay's. We're going to start making this an offensive system. And they rolled with the times. Now, the Bears and many other franchises, the reasons why, they fell off is the simple idea of the same reason why Bill Belichick and Mike Tomlin have lasted so long, because they are willing to change the way they go about things. They can change their system. They're willing to move around that way. Andy Reid is one of those guys. I feel like Andy's a better comparison than Bill Belichick, because Bill still does try to do some of the same things, relatively speaking. But, Andy Reid's one of those guys that's like, under Alex Smith, it was kind of like, all right, well, we're going to run the ball a little bit more and we're going to see what happens with Alex. Now with Patrick Mahomes, we're airing it out and we're going to see if we feel like running the ball. Like, you're willing to adjust. And I feel like that's why you've lost so many historic franchises throughout the last 10, 15 years, is because the game is changing. And like we talked about earlier, the athletic quarterback side of things, the Bears, for the first time in their whole franchise history, not only have a black quarterback, but someone who's actually athletic and can be just more than your poster boy, like a Rex Grossman, Jay Cutler, Jim McMahon. You're starting to see that a lot more. And I feel like that's what makes the good ownerships aside from the average ownerships. And that's honestly, to me, what the biggest thing is.
And I agree. And that's the issue. Mm-hmm. Like when you look at the Lions before they got, I like the head coach they got now. Before
I like Dan a lot.
And what they do? Oh, we're gonna copy off. We're gonna get the Patriots organization. Okay, but guess what? You don't have a generational quarterback.
Right.
like that's what people you take defensive coordinators, you take this, and it's like, hey, well, we're gonna get this guy, and we're gonna do this, and that. But you don't have a generational guy that plays those positions.
Right. Like you had Stafford and Johnson, but aside from that, you took a defensive-minded coach and you couldn't name one guy on that defense. Like, that's the problem. For 10 years, you couldn't name one. Yeah. So that was the biggest problem to me, is like you tried to replicate something, but you can instill, like, here's my biggest thing, at a school, you coach. If you have an amazing vice principal, you have an amazing principal, you have an amazing coaching staff and all of the other stuff. At the end of the day, coach, if the kids suck, the kids suck. And there's nothing you can do about it. You can have the greatest coaches of all time, but if these kids aren't willing to learn and adapt, nothing's going to change. So you had a horrible scouting department, you had a horrible front office, and you just had this name. It's the same concept. And I'll give them this. It's the same thing with Matt Nagy. Okay, well, he's from the Andy Reid tree. Okay, that's perfectly fine. But you gave him Mitchell Trubisky. Well, he inherited Mitch, but it's the same principle of that. Is everything around him doesn't fit what Matt's trying to do, or at least what Matt thinks he's trying to do. You're bringing in the wrong guys. You're bringing in the wrong bodies. You're a horrible front office. Like, it's not going to change anything. And you could say, well, we have the Andy Reid guy, but you don't have anything Andy Reid had.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the thing. That's the thing what a lot of people don't realize. So like Tony, Tony, this is a lot, my man.
Tony, do you just want to come on the show today?
He says there's a lot of cap situation too. You look at these guys coming in and get some of the top money out there, but we only see a handful of franchise pay top dollars and been able to quickly. One of those is the Ravens. They overpaid for Flacco and left. Yeah, they did. I agree with you. But that's the thing, and that's the thing that you got to realize when you have to, and that's why I say when you say organization, it's not just the quarterback, it's not just the coach, it's the GM, it's the things that they put in place. Here's a perfect example, and I think they're on the right path. And I know we talk bad about them of the stuff that they were doing in their past. Washington football team.
Mm-hmm.
NFL did a great job. They find them, they had them do all these hours, and guess what? You have a black GM. I don't know what race the head coach is.
Ron Rivera, he's Hispanic.
Hispanic. You have a black vice president. Like and there's a woman owner. She runs the football organization. So like they're doing things right and they're using their money wisely. And guess what? They got a quarterback. They found a quarterback that can manage for what Rivera wants because he wants to run the football and they want to play defense.
Right.
And then that's the tone that they set. They have a receiver that can beat you over the top.
Right.
So I think that's one of the biggest turnarounds. And then when you look at organizations, and you say the Cowboys, they draft well. But the GM/head coach don't put them in the best position. Like you got to have everything from top to bottom. You take even New England, and going back to Bill's the GM. I really, really, truly believe in 2 or 3 years he's going to retire because he's going to mess up that whole franchise money wise. Because he sucks at drafting, and he doesn't have that blanket to where, right. Hey, look what my starting quarterback, Super Bowl champion quarterback is doing, taking pay cuts.
Right. That's the only thing to me I think that keeps Bill in the league. Is him giving up the drafting aspect of it. I definitely do think it needs to come because he's spending money like it's nothing. He's spending a lot of money of Robert Kraft's money right now. We look at this offseason. You brought in all these guys, and coach, say it with me. Name one wide receiver number one on that team.
They're not.
I can't do it.
They're not.
Right. Like not a single one. Even if you count in the tight ends, Hunter Henry is not a good receiver. He's a good tight end all around, but he's not a good receiver. You're spending a lot of money to build up this defense. And as a Bears fan, I know, Mac's out today, Hicks is out today, Trevathan's out today, everyone's out. And it happens very quickly. So you brought in a bunch of aging guys on some decent deals. I can agree with you there where I don't think he'll be out, but I think his reputation will definitely be a lot more sour than it is today.
Yeah, because right now everybody's riding and they won 7 games. 6 games, question mark. If you want to say the Bills game, hey, if the win wasn't at the
That's a win. That's a win, coach. That was a good win.
No. Let me finish. It was a great win.
It was a great win.
It was a great win. It just proved that the Bills it was a business decision. I tell people all the time, that game, Bill came in and said, hey, it's 30-something degrees out here. The wind's blowing 90-something miles per hour. Guess what? We're going to make sure that linebacker / safety and corner, they're going to have one thing on their mind, a business decision. Because we're going to get these 225, 230-pound backs, and we're going to run the football. So it was a great win, smart. But if the wind had stopped for one pass play, the game would have been totally different.
And also, to all the viewers out there, Alana Trapp will be coming on the show as soon as she gets home. She did just ask if me and you did her bogus by not inviting her today. Sis, you're always invited. We just want you to know, it's all love. You never asked. You never asked, and that's what it comes down to. Joe asks, Randy asks. You never asked, bro. So I'm sorry, but Coach, let me ask you one final question about the whole kind of coaching aspect of things. Do you think, really, does it start with the coach you have, or does it start with the general manager? Does it start with the front guy in the head in the front office? Because to me, at the end of the day, I don't care who's coaching the Chicago Bears, because the guy who's drafting for the Chicago Bears and signing these free agents, that's what matters to me. You have to instill that culture. You have to instill that idea. Now, I think about it the same way I think about your Bucks. You bring in Arians and you bring in a great team around you. Now, obviously, you made a great point. You think of the general manager, you think of the head coach, and you think of the quarterback when you think of a team. You don't think of anything else. And a lot of teams, you start to realize it. What Ryan Pace thought he did for the Chicago Bears was, okay, here's Justin Fields. Now everything's perfect. We have Matt Nagy, you have myself, and you have Justin Fields. The rest of the team looks awful, however way you look at it. So what do you think is more important from that aspect? Do you think it all comes at the end of the day of the guy at the top, or do you think a head coach like Mike Tomlin, Bill Belichick can completely change a franchise by themselves?
I think it's both. I think when you say head coach and you have general manager, they're like this.
Right.
Like, because usually 9 out of 10, if you fire the head coach, guess who goes with him? It's the general manager. I mean, if you look at Harbaugh that went to Michigan, him and the 49ers, they couldn't talk to each other.
Right.
Like you have to have like one of those conversations that you sit down and you talk and you say, hey, here's my plan. Here's what I want to do. Here's what I need to do. I know we have to look at the budget wise. So give me my options. If I'm a head coach, I'm like, hey, give me my, especially after the free agency or out when the season's over with. All right, we sucked at this, and this. Now we look at these players that we have to re-sign.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you need? Well, I need this guy. I need him. I need him. This guy we could probably get in the free agent, or we can get in the draft. He's an average player. He didn't do anything above and beyond. Or if it's I can get somebody else to replace him. I can add 2 more guys for his entire. Right. So it has to be a conversation. It's a relationship. Like these two people have to have communication. And I don't know who's the GM for the Steelers, but you take the 49ers, they're in the same boat. Like, hey, we're in this together. How can we figure it out?
Right.
I mean, you got the GM is the Jones and the Cowboys. But you have to say, but you got like take Nagy. I don't say it's 40, and you hear me say it all the time. It's 40% him, but I think it's 50% your organization, your GM, and it's 10% of your quarterback.
Right. And I lost it, not to cut you short, but I lost respect for Ryan Pace the minute you drafted Mitchell Trubisky. And it wasn't because you took Mitch. It was because John Fox thought you were taking Jamal Adams. You told everybody up to draft day, we're going to take a defensive-minded player. You just paid Mike Glennon, coach, what was it? You paid Mike Glennon like 70, 90-something million dollars to be your QB1 after Jay Cutler left. And I was like, whatever, we'll be a bridge gap spot, and then we'll get someone a couple years from now. And you just completely turned the table. No one else was, not available. It's not like it was Myles Garrett was going to be your option. It was Jamal Adams. And then out of nowhere, you were like, fuck it. I'm not going to tell anybody. Mitchell Trubisky. And that's the situation where I'm like you said, you need to be hand in hand. You have to be like this with your right-hand man, because that's honestly what inevitably got John Fox fired. It was because he even goes off and says later on, he goes, I didn't want Mitch. I would take Deshaun. He was like, I don't want Mitch. And that's the biggest problem to me, though, is like we have these conversations all the time is if you're not in sync, the whole thing's going to sink.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest problem.
Yeah. And that was the thing. You, like I said, you could take the Cowboys.
Right.
Jerry's
doing whatever Jerry wants.
Jerry was doing what Jerry wanted to do. And there was times, and then the son, because they was about to get Johnny Manziel. Because that was the name. And the son was like, hell no.
Right.
No. We're not doing that. And then now Jerry kind of let his son do it a little bit more. Have an idea of what they want to do. But you gotta have, because you can't put people in place and then you hire a coach. And I think that's even too. I think you hiring what's his name was a terrible. Y'all hiring y'all coach Nagy. Nagy didn't fit Trubisky.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why
Trubisky was
I never been on
quarterback. And I think, but you had to go some offensively because you went defense.
Right.
Usually how it goes, if you go defense, you got to go somewhere offense. Right. And you go, it's vice versa. And I think that's where people mess up. You got to have someone with a mindset of, one, if you go for defense, they have to have an open mind. We got to have the best for what we got for these guys. Right. How can we make these guys better? That should be the mindset. If you're an offensive guy, okay, I can do one or two things. Let's air it out and let's figure out defense later, or let's pound it and just rely on our defense.
The biggest problem though is that too, though, where you pointed that out. You said, you brought in a guy that didn't fit. Now, when I look at Matt Nagy, it's a name brand. Like, okay, it's like you're signed with Nike. You're signed with Andy Reid. That's perfectly fine. But what did you do with Andy Reid was really nothing. Now, Eric Bieniemy's done a lot. Eric Bieniemy was there with the Patrick Mahomes years, with the 50+ touchdowns. He was there with the MVP year, the Super Bowl champion, another Super Bowl after that. Like, he actually has a resume. Matt Nagy, what?
Yeah, but Eric Bieniemy, I don't think he won't get a head coaching job.
No, but you know what I mean, though? Like, it's still like, okay, well, he has a resume of being a champion, of understanding what it takes to be in a champion type, just relationship. But Matt Nagy was just chilling with Alex Smith, dicking around half the time. So I had no idea what that was. It made no sense.
Yeah, but that's my biggest. When you say GM, you say head coach. I think they go hand in hand. Because you have to go hand in hand, because you have to be on the same page. Because, like you said, you could be an offensive mind coach, but if you don't get draft or look at the players that they need, but then that's another thing too that you have to realize. You got to get off of the what's hot. A lot of people play off the what's hot. Like, we are in a microwave world where everything is, this is popping right now, so let's do it.
Right.
And I think that's where it has to be. You have to think as a coach and as a GM, you got to think outside the box. Hey, what do we need? What fit what we got?
And that's perfect, because that's the same thing. Like you said, Zach Wilson was hot at the time. You know what I mean? And now you look at Zach Wilson now and you're like, why the fuck did you go as early as you did?
Yeah, I don't to this day. I was never a Zach Wilson. I'm like, man.
Yeah, I wasn't big on him.
I was like, I don't know why. But that's what people do, because when you see the NFL, they boast about these players and they boast about this guy, and you see it on ESPN, you see it. It automatically makes you think like, man, he really is good. Man, all these DMs is talking about this guy and this and that. I should get this guy. And I think that, again, but that's what messes up your organizations, because it's a hit and miss. And if you look at the organizations now, and I will say this one thing about Tampa Bay can draft defense.
Yeah, no question. They rarely spend money on a defense.
They can draft defense. It's the fact they always now they try to go get an offensive-minded person in, because they know the defense is going to be good.
Right.
It's just always. I mean, you could take not Green Bay. You could take Chicago, the Dallas Cowboys. They do a great job drafting. Right. Like, they got great guys. It just they don't mesh. They don't mesh together. Right. Especially on the defense. You got these fast linebackers, but you ain't get no D tackle to protect them.
Right.
Like I think they do a great job. I mean, if you go, you can pick and be like, okay, all right, that's a star. Yeah, he's good. Offensive line was good. So I think it's just once it gets to that point, like if you do if the GM does a great job and he gave the toys of what the coach needs to play with, because you got to fit with it, because you have to get guys that fit him. And I think that's the one thing, like when you say Belichick, you're going to respect him because of what he has. Like, hey, you listen to me, I'm going to get you to the championship, or I get you to the Super Bowl. So a lot of people, and he does do a great job of finding what you're good at and what you're great at and what you suck at. and he never try to put you in a position where you suck at.
Right, and that's where Nagy is one of those guys that's like, we're going to put you at this until you get good at it. And it's like, no, it's always going to be shit. Like, don't you got to stop that. But I think you made a great point, like, just to recap it. And it's no disrespectful way, but the way I see it, a head coach or an offensive coordinator or a scout, they know the game of football because they likely played the game of football. Now, the majority of the time, a general manager to me is a football fan who's also a businessman. You know, they are fans the same way we are. All these GMs are talking about Zach Wilson because of the hype, because they're football fans, because they're starting to see, wow, this kid's really good. And they start to believe in that. We start to feed off that. You know, if Justin Fields throws 6 touchdowns today against Green Bay, I bet you they say he should have went number 1 overall. But again, that's just one game. You know what I mean? Like, we're having that conversation week in and week out. You know, at the end of the day, I'd still take Trevor. I'd still probably take Trevor number 1 overall. But it's definitely something, though, why I think Peyton Manning would be a good GM in this league is because he understands the game. And a lot of these guys are businessmen and just football fans second. And I think that's the biggest problem. Ryan Pace, to me, great scout, but he's just a fan. You know what I mean? Great businessman, but he's a fan. And at the end of the day, he's willing to take chances on guys like Mitchell Trubisky, on guys. You passed on George Kittle for Adam Shaheen because you were trying to think outside of the box. Like, you don't need to be that guy. Like, that's my biggest thing right now is where I think we're going to start seeing front offices change a lot. I think the Peyton Mannings of this league, the Drew Breeses, I think that many individuals who once played the game are going to start to become very important voices in a front office, maybe not even on the field. Like, I don't know if Peyton would coach, but I think he'd be better in the front office than not because he understands what to make of a certain team. And I think that's the craziest part is a lot of these guys are no different than me and you, coach. They just have a business degree.
Yeah. I think, but I agree with you. I think like a guy like Peyton Manning, because Peyton Manning's a nerd.
A big nerd.
Hey, he's a nerd.
Let's be real. Eli Manning is the coolest Manning brother.
Who?
Eli.
Oh yeah, he throws shots.
Yeah.
The thing about Peyton Manning, they told me this story. His wife was at the time was his girlfriend. He was in Tennessee. Mm-hmm. He got drafted by the Colts. So his wife took pictures of his clothes on what to wear and ordered his food for him to eat because he was like I'm here football that's his focus. Like, I'm gonna read it and then so like all the other stuff he didn't have time to worry about.
Right.
So and that's what's so funny about it. But I mean, you're right. The thing about it, again, it's not that you need a business degree. It's you could delegate and have people that has those degrees. That
right.
Because it's financial. A lot of things you got to have somebody that knows the money.
Surround Peyton Manning with a financial team, and I bet you in 5 years he could put together a pretty solid team.
Yes. But I think that's the hardest thing that what people don't realize. It's the money aspect.
Right.
It's because when you look at first round draft picks, first maybe second round, they're either if they're an average player, they're a bust in a lot of people's eyes. I mean, that's in all sports. You take a first number 1 pick in basketball. Hell, he only scored 10 points, 5 rebounds, and he plays 40 minutes. You're like, oh, he's a bust. Oh, he's so sorry.
Remember Cade Cunningham at the beginning of the year? Oh, he was horrible. And everyone was throwing him out of Detroit. Now you wait a little bit, and it starts to come together.
Yeah, shoot. I'm not even gonna say it because that's a whole nother rant. You can say ball, but that's it. Conversation over on that one. But
which one? There's 3.
You know, the one with the Bulls. But anyway,
yeah, no, it's a fair conversation though. Is situations and just growing as a person.
Yeah,
it's different. Now you look at Magic. Now, coach, let's be real. Let's be real here. We're not gonna go too deep into it, but when you look at that position he was drafted, you know, number 1 overall, at that time for what he was, Magic looked like an idiot. Now, if you give it time, you can kind of say, okay, well, maybe this was a lot better of a pick than you think, but GMs aren't going to get that time. They're not going to wait 5 years for your guy to pan out. They're not going to give him that extension to make him feel comfortable to see if he pans out. And that's the biggest thing is you need production now. And the GM position is very different from the head coaching position.
And that's what the pressure is, especially from a first round draft pick. And that's the thing, because my personal opinion, I haven't really watched the Jets, but I think the backup is better than the starter.
You talking about Mike White?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But guess what? Mike White won't touch the field because we're paying this guy right here this much money, not
Right.
to sit on the bench. You as a coach need to figure it out. And I think that's where the money comes in, that owner, because the owner is gonna ask, like, hey, why am I paying him 20-some $million to sit in the same spot I'm sitting, to watch the game just a little
Right.
bit closer than me?
Yeah. No, yeah, I definitely get that. I think that you can't have that situation where even if your backup is balling out. I mean, take Derrick Rose as a perfect example. Even when Derrick Rose is injured, they're like, nah, the second he gets back, like he's in, whether he's comfortable with it or not. And that's because of the money he's making and where he was drafted. And it doesn't matter at the end of the day, how they feel about that. At the end of the day, it's that GM's neck where at the end of the season, they're going to put him into the office and say, well, then why did you waste this draft pick on him if you were just going to play him? There's just so much business that goes into decisions. I think it's crazy.
Yeah. So last topic before we go to our picks,
Mm-hmm.
because we're getting to that time. NFL, does the play home field advantage matter? What do you think?
I think it matters. And from personal experience, I feel like it doesn't matter until you're in the NFL because I never truly felt like it mattered playing in high school. I've gone to college games, never truly felt like it mattered. Um, it's definitely different. It's a very different atmosphere in college than it is in high school. I'll say that it definitely is a different atmosphere. But at the end of the day,
It might be in Chicago, but continue.
but like in high school, it's pretty much just a bunch of kids. You know what I mean? They're not really relatively saying anything to you. In college, it's definitely a different atmosphere too. It's a lot more fans, and
It's
you have some grown ass men screaming at the top of their lungs. Like it's definitely crazy. Now down in Texas, I hear you, coach. Y'all built a little different. Friday Night Lights
hey,
is a lot different down there.
hey, I'm about to say, look, and this is the honest truth. Like I said, people like Freddie, that's from Texas. You can see it. You see it on Facebook. They're talking about these kids. I can't believe he didn't make that play. These coaches should be fired. Blah blah blah.
Mhm.
But anyway, one thing about it is, like next week we got state championships.
Right,
State championships is next week, so it's gonna be from Thursday all the way to Saturday.
right,
And we go like 6-man football all the way up to 6A football. They're going to either play in Jerry's World or they're going to play at Jerry's practice facility.
mm-hmm.
And you're talking about it's going to be 50, 60,000 people at the
We don't
game,
got that.
at the game. And guess what? It's going to be because, and then a lot of them, like I said, some of the teams, because sometimes you support sections. So, like, I'm from East
Right,
Texas. So, you got people that go to the game just to support another East Texas team. Like, you
right,
got, matter of fact, you have 2 Dallas teams, which is going to be in Dallas. One of them is in a sock. Guess what? Everybody and their mama going to be there just to see if they can, if they can win it. So,
right,
that's why I said it's going to be 50, 60,000 people at the state championship game.
right.
I played high school, and this is a rivalry game. Our rivalry game with Longview, Marshall versus Longview, it was 22,000 people.
Right, it's a lot of people.
Okay.
But coach,
That's
let
what
me
I
ask
said.
you though, from
It's
someone who played. Now you played the opposite end of me. You played wide receiver. Um, for me, I loved away games because as someone on the defense, I always felt like I was terrorizing the crowd. Now, when I had a sack, I'm a safety. If I had a sack, if taunting was a thing back then, I would have been booted out of damn near every game because I would look into the crowd and I was one of those guys. I would talk to you like I do crazy stuff to you. Like I would have those conversations. I'd take it there, and I just love terrorizing the crowd. I love terrorizing everyone on the field. I loved being that guy. We loved bringing that energy to spark somebody, to piss a bunch of people off. Now, from an offensive perspective, I wanted to ask if it's a little bit different because you're kind of the ones getting terrorized because you are the enemies. You are viewed as the bad guys. Now, the defense, we're cool with it. Like, we're cool with being the bad guys. Always the second fiddle to the offense. Always this, always that. We're perfectly fine with being the guys beating everybody else down. But for an offense, do you think I truly think the only person that matters is depending on the quarterback that you have. Now, your wide receiver number one, Coach Victor, he'll be straight. He'll be fine. Now that QB1, can he handle the spotlight? Can he handle the Friday Night Lights? And that's where I think home field advantage matters to some degree because we've seen it in Seattle. We've seen the 12th man on the field. You know, they are loud. They will confuse the fuck out of your QB1 because he can't hear anything. And if you can't hear, you have to rely solely on yourself. And I think that's where the only guys you've really seen thrive against Seattle in the NFC, in Seattle is guys like Aaron Rodgers. You know what I mean? So you definitely do, and Tom Brady now, but he just got here. But it's interesting. So I wanted to see how you felt about that.
I think when you look at high school, and one thing about high school and college, a lot of it is it's still the stadium's still split in half.
Right. Oh
like
yeah.
even in national championship this year, whoever it is, if it's Alabama and Georgia, it's still gonna be split in half. If it's Alabama and Michigan, you're gonna see blue and red half the stadium. So it's not really an issue. I think when you get to the NFL, when you're on the field, you're zoned out. So like one of the things is that you just pretty much you just be zoned out and you just be focusing on what you're supposed to do. And like but you also know if you're doing something good, guess what happens? The crowd gets quiet. Then you got momentum.
Right.
I think home field advantage, and I think we talked about it in the chat.
Right.
When was the last time the number 1 seed went to the Super Bowl? I think it was 2015.
I think it was the Rams, wasn't it?
No.
2018?
No, they weren't number 1.
I think they were. Are you
sure?
I
think it's 15 when the Rams. When it was New England, not New England. God dang it, Carolina.
In 2018?
No, 2015.
Oh, 2015. Nah, Coach, I really do think though the Rams had a better record than the Bears. Because we went 12-4, and I know we were 2 or 3. They might have had the number 1 seed.
Hold on, give me 1 second.
I'm doing a little bit of homework today.
Who is that? Oh.
What's up?
Hey man.
What up?
A little bit of homework right now.
Oh, you doing some homework? Oh,
no, it was New Orleans. New Orleans was the number 1.
Was it really?
Yes.
That's so disappointing.
I like I said, I think it's 2015. So and so that tells you the number 1 seed doesn't win. You go back last year, the Bucks that was a wild card. Like if you go back and look over,
you love saying that, don't you?
It was a wild card.
You love saying that.
You don't, and I think, but like you can tell your kid to win when the Patriots went undefeated. The Giants, they was a wild card.
Right.
Like a lot of
wasn't Philly one as well?
Yes.
Yeah, so Philly was one as well.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. I truly believe it's if you're hot at the right moment. I mean, and that's in all sports. Especially, and you see it a lot more in basketball, but in football, if you're hot at the right moment, like it can take you, it can get you wins. Because everybody says, hey, the number one seed, you get a bye. And I've seen a lot of guys lose out. We've seen a lot of guys lose out of the second round.
Mm-hmm.
So
basketball, I think, is a totally different conversation. I've seen it affect a lot of my guys. I think it matters a lot. I think it matters a lot to that for not home field advantage.
I don't know. I'm not sure in basketball.
Those crowds are very different, a lot more intense. I remember I was at the Bucks game, Eastern Conference Finals against the Brooklyn Nets last year, and it was awesome, man. Like the entire place. Me and my boy, only ones from Chicago really there like that, wearing our Bulls gear. We were just chilling, and out of nowhere, the entire place is fuck Kevin Durant, like screaming that. And I was like, man, and I'm looking at KD. KD's got his head down. Harden's just looking at him on the sideline, and I was like, yo, yeah, I didn't know Milwaukee got down like that. I was like, that's different. So I do think in basketball, it's a very different perspective from a fan base. I think the fan base really can get into it the same way Seattle does for the Seahawks. The only one I don't think matters at all is really baseball. And even playing at a high level that I played at, I never really felt like, I was going into somewhere where, the crowd's definitely going to get slow. Yeah, it's just too slow. Like guys aren't going to be lit for 3 hours straight. Like it's just not going to happen. Like there's no shot. So I think football and basketball are pretty much the highest ones for me. Baseball is one of those ones where I don't think it affects you at all.
Yes. Now don't get me wrong. If you say indoor, like a playoff game.
Yeah, no, that's what I meant.
Like,
I don't mean like I don't mean like week to
Super
week
Bowl.
basis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was, I think it truly, to me, when you talk about home field advantage, it just really truly depends on
Where you're at.
where you're at. But
Right.
to piggyback, even off the basketball, you got to realize when you're a visitor team and you hear them say it all the time, I just need to win one. We came in just to win one game. Because once you win that one game, then guess what? You got home field advantage now.
Right.
So I think it can go either way. Sensei, how are you, ma'am?
I am great. How are you guys?
Man, blessed.
I'm exhausted.
Man, same. But I'm here.
Hey, that's good. That's good. That's good. So here we go. We're gonna go to these picks. Sensei,
Yes.
you are a visitor picker.
Mm-hmm.
When Mike needs help because Mike sucks at picking games.
First of all, no, I don't. I was doing good for 10 weeks straight, and I had a bad 2 weeks. All right,
Mike,
that's terrible.
Mike, answer this question. When have you beaten me? When have you beaten me in a week?
Oh, I beat you a couple weeks.
No.
Oh, what? Uh-oh.
I beat you and Charles very early on a couple times.
No, you didn't, Mike.
Yes, I did.
Mike, I've been in the lead the entire time.
Oh, no. I've never. When you say what week, I thought you meant like who had the best record that week, not overall record.
Okay, pause it, Mike. You're done. I'm about to mute you.
No, like what you're saying is like,
no.
there wasn't week, I lost like one game 1 week.
Sensei.
Yes.
If he said he lost one game and he beat me in a week, why am I like 3 or 4 or 5 games ahead of this guy?
But that's what I'm
at the beginning. Now it's like 20 games. I don't even keep stats on it no more.
Well, to be fair, I wasn't there from the beginning. All right, I missed the first 4 weeks with y'all. All right. Listen, man.
So here we go. Hey, Sensei, this is how it works. You pick a team.
Mm-hmm.
You pick a game. You pick a team, and you tell us why. Why you think they're gonna win?
Okay.
Since you're ladies, I think ladies go first. Ravens versus the Browns. Who do you got? I'm
gonna go the Ravens. I think that this is gonna be a good collective win for them. I think that this is a good enough test. I mean, I don't think the Browns are a great team, but I just still think that this is a good enough test for the Ravens going in, like kind of treading towards the postseason and just kind of to regain their footing a little bit, just because they've had some pretty bad losses the past couple of weeks or whatever. So I feel like they're trying to get back on track. I think it'll be a statement game for Lamar Jackson because he is playing against Baker Mayfield, even though Baker ain't all that good in my opinion. But you know what I'm saying, it's just gonna be high stakes because of both of those names. So I'm gonna go with the Ravens in that game.
Mike,
you know I'm on Lamar's side all year. I'm rocking with Lamar until the day I drop. That's all I say.
I'm gonna go with the Ravens. I never believed in the Browns. Said it from the beginning. I think it was everybody kind of ride that horse because they were what they did last year. But I was like, I think it was just you just had a good year. Mm-hmm. So
and that happens.
They got lucky. A lot of those wins. They skated by in a lot of those wins because they got lucky. There was a lot of people hurt. A lot of people were out. So they got lucky with some of those wins.
Yes, and I think the one thing Ravens' defense secondary is destroyed of injuries.
Yeah.
But I don't think the Browns could throw the football on them. So I don't trust Baker. So that's what I'm gonna ride with. Here we go. Next game, we got the Jaguars and Titans. Mike, who you got?
The reports came out today that Urban Meyer's got into new fights with a bunch of players, and he called his entire coaching staff a bunch of losers. So I'm gonna go with Tennessee. Julio Jones is back. I think that's going to be very interesting to see how that is now that they're at full strength from a passing perspective. Derrick Henry is still out, if I'm not mistaken. But, I'll go Tennessee, but shame on Urban Meyers.
Yeah.
They say, who you got? Who you got, girl?
I'm going Tennessee as well. I think that Tennessee is just a better team. And just somehow they've just been able to string together wins. Like, I'm not sure what exactly it is because around. They just, they're missing somebody's a major key component, and they're still able to squeak out wins. And then, I mean, again, it's the Jaguars. Like, come on, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, at this point, anybody should be able to win against them. So I got the Titans.
Hey, I'm riding with the Titans, man. I know a lot of people saying Bill Belichick should be coach of the year. I like what Mike's doing. I mean, you're leading the league with players on the IR. So I truly, I'm a believer of him. So I'm gonna ride with the Titans as well with you guys. Raiders, Chiefs. I go first. Man, I'm going with Pat Mahomes. I'm going with the East Texas boy. I know some people think Pat Mahomes is overrated, but hey, I said it from the beginning and I say it again. I'm gonna ride that horse until I can't ride it no more.
I'm saying.
Right.
Who you got to say? Oh, Mike, go ahead, Mike.
My fault. No, I just wanted to address that. I didn't think he was overrated. I just said it was very quick to say that he's the next GOAT and the next coming of Tom Brady, and that's where my problem was. And it was like, oh, well, he has a chance to win 6 championships in the next 10 years as well. And I was like, no, he really doesn't. Like, it's a great team, but aside from those 3 boys on the offense, the rest of that team is kind of shot. But Sensei, you can go ahead. I was just saying.
No, it's all good. I got the Chiefs. I'm gonna go with my homeboy also in as well. And to the people that say he's overrated, I think he's overrated to the people that don't have him on their team. Like the people that had a chance at him and probably missed on him, he's overrated to those people. Like he ain't overrated to people that really know what's going on. But I got the Chiefs. I think that the Raiders still kind of a mess of a franchise at this particular point. They're not really a cohesive team, but I do think it's a competitive game. I do think that it could go down to the wire for sure. But I think if you're giving me a shot either with Derek Carr or Patrick Mahomes, I gotta go Pat Mahomes boy.
Right. I'm gonna go first. I'm so happy Patrick Mahomes isn't on the Chicago Bears because they would be disrespecting him and it would be so bad. He deserves so much better than that. But I'm happy about it. I hate when we have great quarterbacks because it's like I know you guys aren't gonna put the right team around them. That's my fear with Justin. But it always is. But I'm gonna go with the Raiders, and I talked about it in the morning show. Is for just a simple reason. One, I have to catch up to coach. And two, I feel like the Raiders have a lot more at cost than the Chiefs do in this game. The Chiefs have been coming back. The Chiefs have been cementing good wins. But honestly, the Raiders are 1 or 2 losses away from being out of the playoff picture. So I think this win means a lot more to them than it would to Kansas City. And Derek Carr is still leading the league in passing. So I definitely think it's something to be aware of. And I think it's a dogfight. And not to say that the Chiefs don't want to win this game, but I think there is so much more at cost for the Raiders right now.
Okay. I mean, I can understand that. Here we go, Saints. Look, guys, I'm trying to get these blowout games out of the way. We got Saints versus Jets.
Moving on.
Hey, man.
Moving on, coach.
Why you look like that?
Moving on, coach.
That's gonna be a snooze fest.
And no, moving on.
Yeah, it's gotta be New Orleans. Yeah, it's gonna still be a snooze fest, but it's gotta be New Orleans.
Okay. And we're gonna. What's next? Here we go. Seahawks versus Texans.
It's a good game.
That actually is a good game. I'm gonna go Seahawks though.
Mills is in. I'm gonna go Seahawks, but because Mills ain't it.
Yeah,
I think that's.
Are just
if it was Tyrod, I'd say Texans.
The Texans are right there with the Jags. Like they're just a terrible team. So
yeah,
I got the Seahawks just because I trust Russell over the Texans, whoever they put back there in the back.
If it's not Deshaun, there's no shot. If Deshaun makes a magical appearance, it's a different conversation.
No, he's not. No,
but it ain't happening.
He's saving his money.
I bet he is.
Hey, so who we got? Cowboys versus Washington. This is a rivalry.
T-Town.
Wait, which one? What was the game again? Say it again. I'm sorry.
Cowboys
at Washington.
Oh, Cowboys.
Why? Why do you say the Cowboys?
I think just because they have something to prove, I think they got a little bit of a chip on their shoulder just because they did get kind of complacent and comfortable with their hot start, and the fact that they kind of slowed down and now everybody's kind of back to that. Oh, it's just the same old Cowboys. It's just the they're gonna fold at the biggest moments and things of that nature. So I think that they're gonna come ready to play. This is also a division opponent, so it kind of solidifies their spot at the top of their division. So I'm gonna go to Cowboys, but I wouldn't be surprised if Washington just pulls a rabbit out the hat and wins too, honestly, because that's just kind of how that division goes, especially around this time of year. So I'm gonna pick the Cowboys, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if Washington pulled it off too.
Mike,
give me
Tay-Town.
Tay-Town. Give me Taylor Heineke. I'll take Taylor Heineke any day. That's all I'm gonna say. It's Taylor Heineke. Scary Terry and T-Town. Tee up. We're gonna get him.
My heart.
Talk to me.
My heart says
yes,
Washington.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, okay.
My heart says Washington.
Right.
Reason why is because when you sit here and you really look at it, Washington's gonna try to run the football. Cowboys can't really stop the run. They're very, very small.
That's true.
Very, very small up front. But my mind is saying that's all good, but the Cowboys overall is a better team offensively and defensively. Like I don't see the Washington putting up no more than 14 points. And I think you got to put at least 21 points to beat the Cowboys.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So I'm gonna ride with the Cowboys. Oh Lord, Cowboys don't fail me. And we only got but a few more weeks of me riding with you, but just I'm just telling you now. Look, I know my sister-in-law. She probably looking. She's a diehard Cowboys, and she probably.
So I understand because my mom was a diehard Cowboy fan too, and
it's the weirdest thing in the world how all these Cowboy fans is all over the world.
Man, I don't understand it for the life of me, but it happens.
Hey, just saying, Coach. The Bears keep Nagy. Tony's been recruiting me a little bit. He's been testing the water, seeing how my free agency is going. I'm thinking about re-signing lifelong, but
stop.
Don't fuck around. Don't fuck around, Pace.
Stop.
Don't fuck around.
Hey, you look. You actually, honestly, truthfully, you will fit in as a Cowboy fan because you know what? Technically,
don't disrespect me.
No. Listen. Hold on. Listen. Technically, in a way, you act just like those Cowboys fans because yes, you do. Because look, in the chat, every time that they score, if Justin Fields do something good, you're gonna post a picture of Fields.
Yeah.
And guess what?
Wait, let me ask you something though, real quick. If David Montgomery scores a touchdown or anybody else on that team does anything, do I praise them? If Justin does something, I love him. The rest of them, I could give a fuck. I could give a fuck.
Stop. Sensei.
Yes.
Sensei.
When you see when the Bears score a touchdown, are you not gonna see a Bear something?
Yeah, Mike is for surely gonna post
Justin fucking Fields.
something about.
Hey, last week, did I say a single thing about Andy Dalton last week? Fuck Andy Dalton. I said that motherfucker threw 4 interceptions.
Yeah, but
now had he not,
I would have said it's Red Rifle season.
Yeah. Hey, look. I promise you that I need to send you some of the stuff that like these Cowboy fans be posting and they be saying because we crack jokes about them all the time.
Right.
Win or loss, they're riders.
They're riders for sure.
Listen, for Cowboys, every year is their year, and it's the funniest thing in the world to me.
You
never my year.
The mold of a Cowboys fan.
I could do it. I could rock with that.
Because one thing,
you could.
You are a fanatic. Like you are the fanatic guy. You go. You think so with your heart more than anything. You're like, because if not Green Bay, because if the Bears is up 14-0,
my messenger is like, all you see is Mike.
It's different. It's
going up.
It's different
because it doesn't matter, and but that's what you are. You are a true 100% Chicago fan. Because
Yeah, forever.
every day you post everything. But here we
But
go.
I'll let you know, though, Coach. I'll let you know. You fuck around with me, and you keep Matt and Ryan pace. It's done. I'm not doing this to myself. Coach, let me explain something really quick. Just really quick. I was thinking about it the other day. My dad lived 52 years on this earth. God bless him.
God bless him.
But he saw one championship.
Guess
Why
what?
the fuck am I gonna do that to myself for another 20-something years?
Because you know why?
No, I don't.
Hard.
You want me to tell you why?
No, I don't.
I'm gonna tell you. Do you want me to tell you why?
Why?
Your dad. Because
Fuck that.
No. Listen. You post a picture. You said that. Even I looked on Facebook and I saw that little cute little picture. I was like, look at that.
Oh, that's the Cubs. That's different. That's the Cubs.
No. But the thing is, that's your remembrance of your dad. Some of your great times is with you going to the game. Win, lose, or draw, it doesn't matter. You don't even. That's what you remember. Stop.
Football is the great time.
No.
What those motherfuckers were doing out there was not football.
Hey,
you're not letting go of
that. Mike, what's behind you?
That's my boy, Bjork.
Mike, if we look at your house right now, I guarantee it's Chicago Bears stuff.
Oh, it's everything.
Thank you.
It's Chicago sports, period.
That's what I'm saying. But you see what I'm saying, Mike? Mike,
I hear you. I hear you, but
no. Look,
bro, it's just a disrespect.
Mike, I got two boys downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
I never push football. Never push sports. Whatever they want to do, I'm cool with it. But guess what? Do you know why they want to play football? It's because of me.
Right.
It's because they hear the stories. They see me coach. They're around it. That's why.
Let me find out you a legend down there, Coach. Let me find out you a legend.
I'm not a legend. I'm just a normal guy.
He a legend.
But that's the thing what people don't realize.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what you remember as you and your dad. So you can't go. You can say, oh, you know what? You could be like some people and say, hey, I'm a Bears fan, but I know we're not going to win the Super Bowl, but I like the Rams.
Right.
You can ride with them for a little bit, but deep,
I'm telling you, deep in my heart, though, if you fuck around and fuck up Justin Fields, I'm gone. I don't give a fuck about any of it. I'm done.
That's fine. But guess what?
I'll always have those memories.
Guess what?
But those memories, Coach, at the end of the day, check it out. Look, I'll be like, oh, that's my dad. And I look on the field, I go, oh, that's Jay Cutler. And I'm just like, what the? Or, oh, that's Mitchell Trubisky. Or, oh, that's Rex Grossman. Or, oh, that's this or that. No.
Mike, you didn't, I guarantee it. When you was younger, it was the moment, I don't know, I had never been to Chicago, Soldier Field. You sat out there in the cold like this. Your daddy said, "Here, son, here's some of this hot cocoa. You drink it." And you're like, "Oh!" You was excited. Look,
hey, one thing over here.
Look at us.
Kids to know. Alana knows. Yes. They'll let you know. Like when you're a kid, your parents will tell you, "Hey, number 6, he fucking sucks," and they'll boo him. We booed him,
and that's fine. But you booed it with who?
Booed it with the whole world.
Your dad. No, you didn't boo with me because I didn't care.
Hey, let me tell you something.
Hey, we gotta move on, man. Look, who we got? Hey, Falcons, Panthers.
ATL.
What?
Mm-hmm.
ATL is what? They are trash.
With an identity.
They said it. They're both 5-7.
They are both 5-7, but still, like
Atlanta to me though has an identity of Kyle Pitts and Cordell Patterson. When I look at them right now on Carolina side of things, and I like Carolina, Coach. We talked about it all year. I like the defense. I think it's going to come together at the very end. I think it'll be fine. No Christian McCaffrey, no Sam Darnold. Cam Newton's looked awful. It didn't, he said he was back and then he left, but it is what it is. I just think Matt Ryan and them right now have more of an identity and a more of understanding of how to perform. Gage has stepped up a lot. I have him in fantasy, giving me 18 points a week. But he stepped up a lot with Calvin Ridley being gone. If Calvin Ridley plays this game, I think it's a totally different conversation, but I think they win regardless.
I'm with you. I say ATL. No. Only reason I say ATL, Matt, the head coach for the Carolina, he wants to run the ball. He said 30, 35 times.
With what?
And you run the ball 30, 35 times, and they get up 14 points. I don't think Cam Newton can throw it for you. So since it looks like you're gonna have the losing this record, you're gonna be what we call the player of dumpster juice. Hey, a lot of people came on and did these picks and they act just like you and they lost.
That's true.
So it's okay. It's okay. Ain't nothing wrong. Ain't nothing wrong with being
I
dumpster
ain't
juice.
never done that in my life.
I will give Mike the credit. He's never become the dumpster juice. He came close. No, he came close.
Never did it. Never did it.
Hey, it's always somebody that comes on and do the picks also,
Mm-hmm.
and make you become dumpster juice. Here we go. Giants, Chargers.
Justin Herb, always. J Herb.
Yeah, I gotta go with the Chargers.
I'm going Chargers also. This is a must win for them because they got to still stay close to the playoffs.
Right. But it could be one of those games too, though. We see spoilers every year, but
yeah, I agree with you. All right, here we go. Now we're finna go to the real games. This is gonna make a break.
listen.
49ers, Bengals.
Ooh.
I'm going to say Bengals because I know Elijah Mitchell's out for the 49ers, so they don't have a single person in that backfield. You might see Trey Lance a little bit more today, I feel like, though.
What's his name's back? Debo.
He's a wide receiver, though, isn't he?
Debo played everything for them.
Yeah, but, I mean, hey, you got to be real about it, though. Debo going to have to be playing some wide receiver, so he ain't going to be all the way in the backfield.
Sensei, who you got?
That's kind of tricky because I feel like either way you can't be wrong because I mean they both have this. I feel like they have the same amount of opportunity to win that game.
Right.
I'm gonna go with the Bengals. I think that they probably pull it off. I think it's gonna be a close competitive game as well. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Bengals with that one.
You know what? I'm just gonna be different. So I'm gonna ride with the 49ers. I think the Bengals is a soft team. I think one thing about the 49ers.
This is my comeback story.
I think one thing about the 49ers, they are a physical team. Mm-hmm. Even when they play the Cardinals, they're going to play rough and they're going to keep you in the pocket. And he's going to try to, since he's going to try to throw the ball out across the field. So, yeah, I'm going to ride with the 49ers. I like that. Hey, Bills, Buccaneers.
Bucks.
But yeah, Bucks. Man, Bucks.
The Bucks, I'll give Coach a little credit. The Bucks have the best run-stopping team in the league, and the Bills have no run. So
and the Bills aren't a good team.
Yeah, it's a very long day.
What'd you say? What'd you say?
The Bills are not a good team.
Mike, you gonna let us talk about the Bills? Because you told me crazy all at the beginning of the season when I said that.
They're not a good team. I mean, they had obviously there's potential there, but I don't know if it's maybe coaching or what the issue might be, but they just don't have the nucleus to put it all together because they have good players. Like it's not like they don't have the talent personnel. It's just they haven't been able to put it together to make it a cohesive unit to where that they're a good team and they're stringing along wins. Like there's a lot of games that they lost that they should have won just giving off talent alone. And
So my question is this, Sensei. Mm-hmm. You think it's the players? You said coaches. What coaches do you think?
Dude, you really gonna do this to Brian? You're gonna do this to Brian? I like Brian.
Offensive side of the ball.
Oh, offensive coaches. Oh, okay.
And I mean, you could say obviously. I knew where you were going with that. You could say defense too, but I think I'm just side of the ball because I think that, like I said, with the talent like the quarterback that they have and the wide receiving core, they should be able to. They look lethargic on offense a lot of the times, and that shouldn't be the case with the firepower that they have. And that's what I'm more sort of getting at is because like Buffalo, we expected to see a lot of points. We listed a lot of play action like Josh Allen airing it out, and we haven't really seen that. It's kind of just looked. It just doesn't look like it's a well-oiled machine. Honestly, like it looks really sporadic at times with them. So it's just like I don't know. They should be better than what they are. And just from right now, like I said, currently constructed, they just don't look like a good team to me.
Right.
So I don't really have any kind of confidence in them.
My thing with the Bills, and I've said it all year, Coach, you're gonna come at my guy, future head coach of the Chicago Bears, Brian DeBall. I'll
Here
say
you
it.
go. Here you
My problem with the Bills though is the same problem we had with Patrick Mahomes in the beginning of the year and the Chiefs, and is the same problem you're seeing now with the Rams. Like, okay, you have all these passing options, but you don't have a run game. You have not instilled a run game whatsoever. So you become one dimensional from that side of the ball. Now, guys like Patrick, they already have an identity. Patrick Mahomes understands who he is. So it sucked for a little bit. He was throwing interceptions week in and week out, but he figured it out at one point. Josh Allen hasn't figured out who he is yet as a quarterback. And that's the biggest flaw, because I felt like he was an MVP candidate last year. He was going to take that next step. Fantasy, guys were taking him number one. Like, this is how it was. Everyone had that expectation of him being great, the next great. But it just hasn't been that so far. And I think a big part of that is the same thing with Stafford, the same thing with Lamar, and the same thing with many others is, and even Patrick Mahomes at times, you are one dimensional from the offensive side of the ball. There is nobody in that backfield that is game planned for, not a single soul, not Devontae Freeman, not Sony Michel, not, CEH, not Williams in Kansas City, none of those guys, it's just not happening. So I definitely think you look at it from the Bills' perspective. You're not preparing for Singletary because he's 5'7" and fat now. Like, there's nothing about that concerns me. Moss is never healthy and he's a rookie, so you're not really concerned about that. The O-line's not great. I think Brian DeBall, there is some to blame. But at the same time, we're seeing this around the league right now, that one-dimensional teams, as great as they are from a passing perspective, just get exposed. I mean, Odell, Kupp, all these other guys, and they're doing what? Throwing pick sixes? Like, I think it's a lot more than just, the Bills being knocked for it. But I hear you, Coach. I hear you. It's definitely something to be aware of.
But to piggyback off of what you said, the running game hasn't really been strong in general. I mean, if you look at the stats of teams, you got Jonathan Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
You would have had Derrick Henry.
You still
crazy.
do. Derrick Henry hasn't played in 7 weeks, and he's still top 4.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
And so,
crazy.
And so, like, everybody else, only running back over 1,000 yards, and we're talking about we're going into week 14,
right?
So it's really, the running game hasn't really been strong. And I said it, and I say it all the time, man. It's the CBA is going to destroy the running back position.
Yeah,
because you don't have that continuity with the offensive line working together with them. So now it makes it be more of a passing league. But I don't trust the Bucks. I mean, not the Bucks. I don't trust the Bills, because what this is what you have to do. You have to throw the ball against Tampa Bay right now.
Right.
I mean, they're slowly getting people back in the secondary, but if you want to win the game, you got to throw it. But I don't see Josh Allen. He can't throw the ball 40-some times a game, and you expect him
to match Tom Brady throw for throw, because that's what it's going to come down to. It's going to be a shootout, and he's not going to be able to do that with the way that the offense is, because the what helps Tom Brady is they have to, like Mike was saying, they have the balance of a running game. Because if the passing's not hitting off, he can dump it off to Leonard Fournette, and he can at least pick up enough yards to make a difference, to the point where, okay, maybe on this next play or the next couple of plays, then we can air it out. And Josh Allen doesn't have that.
Right.
Yes, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
So here we go. Next game. I'm skipping one. We're gonna go last to that one because I don't feel like, I know this is gonna be a rant. Rams versus Cardinals.
Ooh.
Cardinals. Cardinals for the same reason that the Rams are the Bills. Like, really, like, you have a great defense, but they're exhausted because your offense is one-dimensional and you're doing 3 and outs, and that's this. You didn't need Odell Beckham Jr. You needed Saquon Barkley, bro. Like, that's the reality of it. Like, Henderson, right? But Henderson and Sony Michel just aren't it. And Matthew Stafford is a statue out there, and that's no fault of Matthew either, though, because if I went through what he did in Detroit, I wouldn't even be here today. I'd be dead. I'd have brain dead somewhere in the street. But I'll take James Conner and those boys out there.
Sensei, who you got?
I'm gonna go surprise here. I'm gonna go to Rams. I think they might pull a rabbit out of the hat with this.
That's that Odell love showing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because Odell's my guy. I love me some Odell, but I think that the Rams could match the Cardinals in this game. I feel
Yeah.
like it's going to be similar to how if and that's if they stick to this game plan. Like how if they play Arizona how they played the Bucks, they can win. That basically like if they had that same formulated game plan that they went against the Bucks, that they'll win this game because they have the they have the personnel, they have the offense, they have the defense as well to do it. It's just that I think they kind of got comfortable and maybe a little bit complacent because they got off to such a hot start. And then they kind of walked into games a little bit, and especially after getting Odell, it was like, oh well, you know what I'm saying, we automatically just gonna walk in and roll over people, and that it doesn't always work that way. But I think like I said, I'm gonna go sleeper pick. I'm gonna go with the Rams. I think that they definitely have the talent to make this a game and not even make this a game, but to win the game as well. But like Mike alluded to, Matthew Stafford has to not be a statue out there. Like he has to be a little bit more mobile out there because if he's just standing in the pocket, it's gonna be a long day for him. Like you know what I'm saying. So but yeah, I'm gonna go with the Rams. I'm gonna go with the Rams.
Sensei, I'm gonna ride with you. I'm gonna go with the Rams. This is a must win.
Yes,
The
coach.
only reason I say that this is a way, way, way more important game for them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's because if they lose, that's a good chance to knock them out of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. But coach, just know if you lose on those 4 picks that we've differed on so far, I'm 1 game back.
You're not 1 game back.
How many games back am I?
It's like
you're 10 games back.
Undisputed.
10 games back.
Go Sensei because he's wasting
time. I
time.
don't want to play no more.
No, honestly, no. But what she said, Coach, is it's a must-win game for the Rams. Like the Rams need this game. The Cardinals, either way, whatever happens, they're going to be in the same position. Like it doesn't really matter either way it goes for the Cardinals because they've separated themselves that much in that division. But the Rams absolutely need this game because if they lose this game, then like Coach was alluding to, this is the opportunity for them not to be in the playoffs at all. And with them having the Super Bowl there and all the money that they invest, like they don't want that to happen. So. I'm gonna ride with the Rams, but y'all gonna bet something on it though, because it sounds like
they don't want to do that. They don't never want to. They don't.
I just thought I'd ask.
Well, Sensei, you can always come back on the show and we can have a bet for the next week. Because I don't want you because right now you're just going off your heart and you just what you're thinking. So I want you to go and study. Because the pressure's on when you start betting. They don't like to bet.
No
one likes to bet me.
Because it gets real when you start to bet.
Yeah. So here we go. Last game, we got the Green Bay Packers versus the Chicago Bears.
Ooh, spicy. Mike.
That's fine. Mike doesn't want to talk. I'm gonna tell you what we're gonna see. We're going to see this. Discount double check. Hey, he going to be saying, I told you I own these sorry Bears.
Man, listen, I would say, what he say? He said he owned them.
I own these Bears.
The fact that they didn't take that personal in that moment is just.
Matter of fact.
I'm sorry, Mike. I love you so much.
Hey, I DM Aaron Rodgers. And he said, he told me to tell you this because he's like, I know Mike is a good Bears fan. I'm going to give him what he wants. I'm going to get Nagy out of there once I get done putting on this show. That's what he said. I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for you, Mike.
Doing you a favorite, see?
Hey, if you hear me, you're going to be like, Mike, this is for you.
Man, I'll tell you, bro. I'll cry. But in all reality, this is the last of many, many heart-filled games, hopefully. Everyone knows that this is potentially the very last game Aaron Rodgers will be playing against the Bears as a Green Bay Packer. It's a high probability. Coach, you always nod your head saying it's not true. I'm telling you one thing right now, guys like that don't reconstruct their contracts unless they mean that shit. And Aaron has not played or performed in a way to where he can go get that money back. He hasn't. He just really hasn't. He's not going to get that same money he did, especially not at this age. So if this is the last dance, I'm rooting for him because again, like you said, like I got no. Here's my thing: Aaron Rodgers owns the Chicago Bears. the Green Bay Packers don't own the Chicago Bears. It's very close. Without Aaron Rodgers, the Bears would have been winning this division for years. That's just point blank, period. I respect Aaron Rodgers. I love Aaron Rodgers as a player, as a man. Outside of that vaccination shit, I think he's a relatively cool dude. Think that shit was weird, but very weird, very weird, very weird. Justin Fields would never. But it is the first game ever and potentially the last of Justin Fields versus Aaron Rodgers in these kind of rivalry games. So it could be the passing of the torch. I'm very excited to see it. The new future of the NFC North, Justin Fields versus the current future or the current king of the NFC North in Aaron Rodgers. I'm going Green Bay because, like you said, there's a lot of intangibles to why. One is, we were going to lose this game no matter who was playing. But the fact of the matter is Akeem Hicks is out. Akeem Hicks is emotional right now. He knows he's not returning as a Bear. Khalil Mack is out. Trevor, what's his name? Danny Trevathan's out. I mean, coach, everybody on that defense is out. And let's be real. Even if they were there, doesn't really make a difference. So at the end of the day, I think it's going to be a very bad game. Now, I just want y'all to know the Bears are winning in this game. Talking my shit. I'm talking my shit. I'm talking my shit.
By all means, deserve to talk whatever shit that you feel.
If Khalil Mack and Akeem Hicks are out and we win with Justin Fields, I'm talking my shit.
Yeah,
and Matt Nagy's the GOAT.
I might have to block Mike for a minute.
And we're going to the Super Bowl. On the real.
He gonna be.
But it's the last one, Coach. It might be the last one. So I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it well.
We'll talk about that later on in the year. I don't really think it's the last one. But hey, that's it, man. Hey, I want to wish Mike Sensei, thank you for joining. At any time, if you want to come on, you can come on. Just know you should come on next Sunday. We have like a nice little bet.
Okay.
We gotta come with a nice little bet.
Okay.
Look,
I'll
Mike,
definitely be there. Yeah, I'm ready for it.
And we can say, hey, dumpster juice is what it is for one of y'all too. That is what it is. Hey, till next time. Hey, Facebook, YouTube, TV channel. Hey, we love you. Thank you for watching. We out.
Yes, sir.